Hey YouTubers, Electric Adventures here with a response video to Interghost's recent video on arcade games you used to play as a kid and where you played them. I suppose I was introduced to arcade games at my local milk bar, or what's that, the shop in your neighbourhood that used to sell chocolates, and you could buy some fish and chips, and they always used to have well, originally they had nothing, but then they started to get arcade machines, and one of them was a Space Invaders machine. So yes, older than I look. But that was a Space Invaders machine. Played that a little bit, but that wasn't in a shop nearby. But actually very close to my house, a little bit later, there was a sit-down Donkey Kong machine, and I actually played that a fair bit. And various other machines were cycled through that over time, but it was probably quite a while after that before they announced a new video game arcade was going to be opening in the centre of Hobart City, and it was called Flashback. And I can remember I was very excited about it. I found out about it in a magazine, and I sent in the club membership and got sent a badge, and actually I just thought about that. I actually found that recently. I'll have to get that out sometime in a box of stuff when I was cleaning up. So I was a member of the Flashback Club, and I went along to this arcade, and in there was more arcade machines that I'd seen in my life, and there were things like asteroids, and particularly impressive one at the time was Lunar Lander because of the large control stick. And I can remember playing that one a lot, but it had Phoenix there, although I should have mentioned Phoenix is probably another game that I played locally as well. But it also had Battle Zone, and you had your Galaxians, and I think it was Moon Crester, and also another one of my favourites was Moon Patrol. Now move on forward a few years, Flashback lasted for a few years, but it disappeared. But then somebody decided to open another arcade in the same place. Slight interruption there, kids. Yes, so another operator decided to open an arcade in the same place, or almost the same place. There was actually a cinema next to where the arcade was. The new arcade was actually made, they took all the seats out, and the arcade was on the floor where the cinema was, and where the other arcade had been got turned into like a bingo hall for a while, for quite a few years. But in this one, this is where I discovered two of my favourite games, and they were Time Pilot in a stand-up version, and Tutankhamun, which was available in a sit-down version. Now, an interesting story is I've actually tracked down that very Tutankhamun sit-down machine at the operator, because the person who used to run that arcade, which was called Leisureland, is actually the guy that I bought my arcade machine off recently, and I'm getting a couple more. And sitting in a stack of machines is the Tutankhamun sit-down. So I'm going to make it my mission in life to try and talk him out of it at some stage. I don't know when. Now there was another game there that I probably discovered around that time as well, although by then it was a little older, and that was Bosconian. And I actually liked that game so much, and of course it was an older game, so it was a bit cheaper, so I actually got my father to rent me that game for my 18th birthday weekend, and we played it to death all weekend. And I love that game, and there's actually a really good version on the MSX, which I finally got hold of. I've always had a downloaded disc copy, but I finally got hold of a real cartridge of that recently. So anyway, that was a really interesting tag. Lots of arcade games there. Of course, there are generations after that. Obviously the very first time I encountered the Star Wars sit-down cabinet was at Leisureland as well, so almost forgot to mention that one. And also they had a really old game there, which is a 4-player racing car game, black and white, where you basically up to 4 people each, steering wheel each, standing around a stand-up thing, and you had to make your cars go around the track. Lots of good fun with lots of friends. But anyway, very good tag. Make sure you go watch Interghost's original video. I'll put a link down below, and if you want to do a response to that one. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to all my subscribers, and I'll catch you all later.